Hello everybody and welcome back to the weekly English shooting live stream. I all hope you've had a fantastic shooting field week, and of course tonight we'll be going over all of the past week's shooting news and topics. Don't be afraid to get involved. You can use the chat box, you can ask questions, anything you would like to know about shooting sports in the UK or anything else, whether it's about a gun that you want to buy or which ammunition to use. I will try and give my best answer possible. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe if you're not already. It does make a huge difference to the channel in reaching new people and sharing this sport. So for once, we've had a relatively uneventful week, but Basque, it's just one of these things that you just get the feeling that the reason that they didn't want to put anything out prior to when people could actually respond to the HSE led consultation, that they didn't want to release it because they didn't really have anything positive or anything necessarily useful to put in. Or useful is not the right word, because this is actually very useful, but it's certainly not very positive. And this is, they're going to be the main topic for this evening. We are going to be talking about a few other things, including an article from The Independent talking about US gun violence, and also how as a community, I think we, excuse the pun, shoot ourselves in the foot by keeping silent. Of course, you don't necessarily have to go to the extremes as running your own channel to voice your opinions or have the community's voice heard, but we do pay an awful lot of money to various organisations and associations that can speak for us and we expect to speak for us, and a lot of the time we feel a little disappointed in their lack of words or lack of action. But the main point for this evening again is Basque around this lead consultation. So a little bit of a backstory if you haven't heard about this. I don't know where you've been living, most likely under a rock, because this is one of the greatest threats to our sport here within the UK, and I know the shooters out in Europe and firearms owners are facing this threat as well. But we have a sort of a slightly segmented attack because, of course, we left the EU, so they created their own special ban-led UK committee, and it's being headed by the Health and Safety, HSE, Health Safety Environmental, something like that, or Health Safety Executive, or whatever, some made-up name. But Basque has released this. Now, remembering that Basque put out pretty much next to no information prior to the closing of the consultation. So HSE, they released this 200 odd page report on why we should ban lead, and lead is very bad and everyone should be really scared of it and we should no longer use it within our firearms. And they opened up to an evidence gathering process to learn more about it, and you didn't need to be a particular expert or really be that clued up on the subject to quickly identify that there were a huge amount of estimations and not even like educated guesses, just like huge assumptions that were really, really flawed. And this was one of the main points that I put out in the video going through the consultation. If you guys remember, it will be on the channel somewhere. Basically walking you through how to answer it, what's applicable to the individual, what is more for organisations. But a key theme throughout my own responses and the responses that I recommended was all around how there were these huge assumptions, and only Basque chooses now to finally come out and say, yeah, like half of it was rubbish. So Basque exposes process failures in lead ban proposal. I don't know necessarily if Basque can take the credit for this one, if I'm going to be completely honest, because we were talking about this, weeks ago, if not months ago. So BASC has written to the government's Environment Audit Committee to hold the Health and Safety Executive, hey, I did get it right, to account for significant process failures in its recent review of lead ammunition. Dr. Conor O'Gorman explains. Again, why? You know, they've been sat on this for 6 months. It's not like they've just figured out, and this could have been a really key point. Now, again, it was raised within the video, it was raised on this channel, but I think it would have been really useful for BASC to have made, to given this point to its members to raise within their own responses to the consultation. BASC has submitted evidence to the House of Commons Environment Audit Committee, highlighting concerns about the way in which the Health and Safety Executive, HSE, has developed its lead ban proposal. Interestingly, they're now calling it the lead ban rather than the review. It's bad enough that HSE's findings are based on hundreds of pages of inaccuracies and assumptions based on poor data, but it gets worse. The HSE has appointed Professors Debbie Payne and Reese Green to its independent scientific expert pool. The agency only published this information in October 2022. It is very concerning because both individuals have been quoted in the media calling for a ban on lead ammunition since the HSE review began. That clear conflict of interest is magnified when one considers that a dozen or more research papers that the HSE is relying on in its restriction dossier, I think that's the 200 odd page document, are authored by the very same lead ban campaigners. Furthermore, Payne and Green are being asked to advise on and critique the HSE's use of that evidence for its proposal to ban lead ammunition. The HSE is in effect marking its own homework. Well, I mean, BASC isn't really, in too good of a position to accuse people of marking their own homework. Let's again roll back even further to this voluntary transition from lead, where BASC sort of self-certified it, right? They came out and said, oh, the industry is well up to speed on this, and we are ready to voluntarily transition away from lead and go to and the non-lead alternatives are available, or the lead alternatives are available, and everything's hunky-dory. We've spoken to the industry, and then the industry turned around and was like, what? When? Sorry, must have missed that meeting. So BASC has been guilty of marking its own homework, or, some could question whether they've fabricated their own sort of support in that way. So the background, 2-year review of lead ammunition. This we've already covered this. Voluntary transition. Oh, I fucking hate that word. It's a voluntary ban, right? It's a voluntary. No, we're not going to use this anymore. So what happens next? Will the HSE take stock of the consultation responses it has received over the last 6 months? From the shooting community and change tack? Well, if you were hoping, BASC, for this to be a big tool in the arsenal of fighting off a lot of the points that make absolutely no sense, again, you've shot yourselves in the foot, because there was little to no promotion, little to no sharing of that consultation. So I just find there's just something that doesn't sit right with me, that BASC are now talking about all these responses from the shooting community and all these issues with the HSE. Well, where was this a couple of months ago? Where was this 6 months ago? In our consultation response, we told the HSE, again, it would be really, really good to know actually what they submitted. I don't think it's unfair for BASC members to ask BASC exactly what was submitted on their behalf. That again doesn't seem to be very forthcoming. That we are opposed to restrictions on lead rifle ammunition and lead shot for target shooting, and that we are opposed to restrictions on lead airgun pellets for live quarry and target shooting. When it comes to the use of lead shot, there is clear evidence that this poses a risk for birds where it is available for them to pick up, much of that coming from game shooting, but also simulated game and standard clay shoots taking place in open countryside. There is also clear evidence that the use of lead shot and expanding rough ammunition poses risk for human health due to the game meat containing traces of lead ammunition. I don't think it's you can really argue that there's going to be traces of lead in meat that you've shot with lead ammunition. I don't think as well anybody at any point has necessarily argued that you should actively seek to be ingesting and eating lead. But I still haven't actually seen Basque or really anybody sort of submit the scientific, like, this is what is happening. People that eat game meat containing traces of lead are X amount at greater risk of these issues, of this, that, and the other. The non-scientific rebuttal is that there are plenty of people out there that have been eating lead shot game that live to ripe old ages. Now, that they might be outliers and everyone else might be dying in their 40s, but I haven't seen actually any concrete thing to say this is having a negative. We know lead is bad. We know it is toxic, and we know that there is going to be traces of lead in game meat. But where is the correlation? Where is the categorical proof that shows eating this is going to be detrimental to health? And here is the scientific study to show that. There's sort of like this, okay, this is bad, so everyone's assuming this is bad. And I think there is a massive assumption in that. There's also the issue of what wider consequences are we going to see out in the countryside? Yes, again, I don't think you can argue that birds eating lead shot is necessarily good, but what other contaminants might we introduce into the countryside using other materials that are not inert? Because whilst lead is toxic, it is inert. If you put it into the ground, it's lead, right? It doesn't react, it doesn't do anything. Whereas a lot of these alternatives are highly reactive, and they will form other chemicals while they sit there in the ground. And what adverse effects are we going to see potentially because of those, the numbers of, the number of still shot that's being put out there, it pales into insignificance compared to lead. So we start shooting steel in the same quantities that we're shooting lead. These issues could become very, very, they could be very, very bad very, very quickly. And I think what mostly I'm scared of is nobody seems to, I think on both sides, nobody really seems to be that necessarily concrete. And what we could be doing is forcing ourselves a corridor where we go, look, we as the community are actually saying, and we agree, we shouldn't be using lead. So we need to use alternatives. And then 5, 10, 20 years down the line, we find out that the stuff that isn't being ingested or eaten by this game is causing horrendous problems in the countryside, and quick, swift action then needs to be taken to prevent us from using that ammunition. So what are we left with? So that's, I think, the ultimate risk here. If we move away from lead without, I think, longer term, maybe greater volume testing out in the countryside and outside with these alternatives, we could be leading ourselves down a path where they go, actually, you can't shoot anything outdoors. And I had a interesting conversation yesterday, and they, we had a meeting surrounding a number of different not issues, number of different points at Magload, and their belief was, shooting is going to become an indoor sport. And actually I hadn't necessarily thought about that, but you think about the issues with the ammunition being dispelled all over the countryside and outdoors, and the issue with noise, the issue with planning. It's so hard to find it. Land for a range is really like a Goldilocks bit of land. Like, on the face of it, you would think that it's all the land that nobody wants, because it usually has to be in the middle of nowhere. It usually has to be somewhere where you can make a lot of noise, which isn't necessarily desirable for anybody else. But those bits of land just don't seem to crop up, and if they do, they're hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not millions of pounds, and they're usually, potentially snapped up by other more lucrative businesses, so they can afford to pay more and develop it and are maybe more appealing. So it does, this element, if we end up using ammunition out there that causes even more issues than lead to the environment, that's just another nail in the coffin down the pathway of becoming a truly indoor indoor sport, and an indoor only sport. So that was something that we were discussing, and actually it sort of got my cogs turning of, look, maybe that is the way we need to look at it. Maybe that is the safest way. I've made no secret of the fact that one of my aspirations and ambitions is to have my own range at some point. And it's whilst for the sort of shooting that I enjoy doing, outdoors does seem more logical, maybe for longevity and sustainability, it's finding ways to cater to these outdoor sports indoors. There's loads of companies doing it across Europe. You have indoor clay shooting ranges, which is absolutely phenomenal, out in Germany, I think it is. And maybe we need to, certain sports need to be adapted to cater for indoors, because there's potentially less issues. But anyway, I digress. My general point is that I yet haven't been convinced. I haven't necessarily been convinced by either side. And when that happens, I go, well, if I can't be convinced either way, why change it, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I still haven't been convinced that it's actually broke. The only feasible way of reducing these risks for birds and human health is basically for us to stop shooting live quarry with lead shot, and expanding rifle ammunition and voluntary transition away from lead shot for live quarry is being encouraged by the shooting organisations. Now, I do see a little bit of a contradiction here, and I understand the justification for it. But they're completely against lead airgun pellets for live quarry, but they're also saying that we should stop all shooting with live quarry. Now, people that go out there, rabbiting or pigeon shooting with airgun, they shoot their game just like anybody else. So it's like, is an airgun pellet less toxic or less likely to cause risk? And I think generally the rebuttal to this is that there are more game birds shot with lead shot than there are lead pellets. And then again, that sort of goes to the conspiracy that really all this is about is the commercialization of game. It's the sustainability of game shooting, which isn't a bad thing, but it very much seems that it's like, on one hand, oh, well, you can shoot it with an airgun pellet because we don't have hundreds of thousands of birds that are shot with airgun pellets that we want to sell to the supermarket. But actually, on a game shoot, we do end up with hundreds of thousands of birds that we would love to sell to the supermarket. So that's what we really want the lead out of. You can't say, like, what, it's do airgun shooters' lives matter less than game shooters? It's let them shoot the game that they've shot with their air pellets. They're airgun shooters. If they get lead poisoning and die, whereas the game shooters, no, they have to be protected. Things like that just doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. And overall, if you're shooting stuff with, say, a 2.2, sometimes on a game bird you may only have a few pellets that kill it. I'd say there's still probably more lead in a 2.2 airgun pellet than there is in a few BBs of shotgun. And what is more likely to fragment and disperse within the body and have tiny little bits, an airgun pellet or a BB. So again, that doesn't make these little black holes. And when I sort of still have the conclusion in my head that this is all about the commercialization of game and very much focused on a lot of people making a lot of money if this goes ahead and it becomes more lucrative, And again, that wouldn't be necessary. I don't have a problem at all with people going out there and commercializing and, you know, making shooting profitable and sustainable. Of course, that's the dream. We want to see the sport continue indefinitely. But you get the feeling that the money that's going to be generated by more supermarkets buying game isn't going to come necessarily into the grassroots shooting communities. It's not going to be fed back. And ultimately, if it is about the game estates, it is already going to be the very, very wealthy, the estate owners, that are going to benefit. And yes, they might make their estates, nicer. You know, maybe re-tarmac that mile-long driveway up to the house, or, you know, they may be able to reduce the price of a bird to their guns by £2.50 because they're able to sell it to supermarkets for £2.50 rather than 25p or 50p, whatever it is, to a game dealer. But how does that necessarily benefit, you know, grassroots shooters? Well, how does that benefit the rest of the community? And I think that's what I have a problem with. If these people are going to get significantly richer and they're going to profit from all of this, what is being put in place that money gets fed back to the grassroots areas? You know, airgun ranges, 2.2 ranges, you know, shooting clubs, but maybe investment into the scouts, investment into university clubs, getting more people. And I know that's mainly target shooting, but target shooting is a lot easier to sell to people initially. That's certainly where myself I came in. That's where Connors came in. Neither of us came in through the hunting, or that I think Connors had done a little bit of hunting in the past, and I had done a little myself. But our main interests within shooting as a whole begun within target sports. It's only later on that we've then ventured out into other huntings, into game shooting and things like that. So I think actually it's beneficial for the game community to want to help the target shooters to help the younger generation actually just start shooting so that they can move on into other areas like game shooting. So yes, the only feasible way is to completely ban it. There's never been any discussion of alternatives. That has been the suggestion from day one. I don't think we've ever actually sat down as a community and gone, look, what else can we do here? What about, a mix? Like, is it worth, can you, maybe more, I don't know, have potentially limits on what you're putting out there. I don't know. However, the HSE wants legal restrictions brought in the context of the voluntary transition. We have told the HSE that further regulations are not required. This is just hook, line and sinker. Exactly what I saw coming from day one with this voluntary transition, right? Basque have green lighted HSE to bring in legal restrictions, right? And they can't go, oh no, but we're going to do it voluntarily. Yes. And again, HSE are looking at the responses from Basque's own members and going, like, hell are your members going to voluntarily transition away from lead? Like, we've seen your Facebook page, we have seen the Facebook comments, like, it's not going to happen. So that's why HSE wants legal restrictions, because they've seen the response of the community. They've seen the shotgun manufacturers, and they're like, no one's going to voluntarily do anything, so we're going to have to force them. And I can't see how Basque have a leg to stand on to say, no legal restrictions, we're going to do it voluntarily. Because it's like, well, you agree it should be done. Yes. And your own members don't really want to do it. No. So how else are you going to get it done? Right? Like, Basque doesn't have a big enough stick to force its members to do anything. Like, bearing in mind, and this is generalising, apologies to any Basque members out there, but there is a certain, let's say, stereotype of a Basque member, and that stereotype is usually stubborn. Right? Fighting shooting's corner. The irony. When the lead ammunition review was announced last year, Basque made a promise to the shooting community. If we have concerns that the resulting legislative proposals are disproportionate and will damage shooting, we will lobby for them to be revised. Yes, but you've done noble in the run-up to the closure of the consultation, have you? You know, the biggest weapon at our disposal, like, honestly, every single time it's about numbers, and nobody gives a flying hoot about, you know, signatures on a petition anymore. Like, if you see the asinine petitions that reach 500,000, you know, like, look, like, get Mac Hancock out of I'm a Celebrity. You know, what was that up to? Like, no one really takes those seriously, right? But what people do take seriously, and certainly what government takes seriously, are voters. And what is the cheapest, easiest, and most efficient way to voice or to voice opinion to government? Today, it's social media. Like, every MP is on Twitter. Pretty much every MP is on Facebook. A lot of them have their own YouTube channels, right? And look at Brexit. Look at the presidential election with with Donald Trump the first time. It was all won and lost within social media. And Basque's biggest weapon against this was its membership. The largest membership group of any other shooting organisation, supposedly 150,000 members. And we saw little to absolutely nothing to rally that huge amount of people into directing their voice towards government. And they've completely dropped the ball. Yes, I'm sure they're having some very effective closed door meeting with MPs and this, that and the other. That's how Basque works. But it wouldn't have done any harm to rally the 150,000 people and encourage them to write to their MPs, encourage them to share things on social media, and encourage them to fill out the consultation. If HSC continues down its current path, there will be a political battle ahead. It would have been far easier not to have reached the point of a political battle, I would have thought, and Basque will fight our corner. However, the wolf is not at the door yet. There is another consultation due in February 2023 and final recommendations to be submitted to DEFRA thereafter. It will be for the government to decide whether to act on those recommendations. Again, it doesn't matter what Basque puts forward. It doesn't matter what DEFRA or HSE put forward. The government will be swayed by the voting public. If it thinks that it can get away with it, if it thinks that it can introduce another backdoor ban to shooting and it's not going to lose too many votes and the public isn't going to get too upset, or the voters aren't going to get too upset, then they're going to do it. And I think the best thing that we can do as a community is make them realise you could lose election to, well, not at the moment, because like there definitely not level pegging at the moment between parties, but in previous elections, you know, the amount of shooters in this country could swing an election either way, and that's what I think government need to understand. So yeah, let me know what you think. Again, you can use the chat box, get involved, tell me what you think, whether you agree, disagree, or if there's any other topics or questions that you want to bring up. Let's leave out politics. Daniel, you've been a moderator on this channel for quite a long time. I think this channel is all about the politics, is it not? View deleted. Why was that hidden? I'm sorry I'm late. I've been watching Nigel Farage and Winston Churchill speeches. Daniel, you have a weird barometer sometimes of what's acceptable and what's not. Last week on the live stream, we got to read about some dog shitting all over the stairs. But talking about Nigel Farage and Winston Churchill speeches, no, that's not okay. Callum's come out. He's using steel cartridges. Never. New emoji, yes, of course. So we do have the Only ES fans, which anybody is welcome to join if you want to support the channel, and you do get a few perks like really cool custom emojis, and the more members we get, the more custom emojis YouTube allows me to add. So the recent one, I think this one is called small arms, and you might think that is heavily photoshopped, but I mean, it is. I mean, like, Connors doesn't actually have a T-Rex body, but there is a photo of him. It was either me or Paul he was coming after with something, and we made it into a T-Rex. Long story about Connors having a nickname after a T-Rex. You don't want to know. But yes, Alexander Dale, that is a new emoji. There are a few more that I think I can add. I think mostly Dan. There's a couple of other ones for Dan. There's also me as a woman. The Discord scares me sometimes. But yes, if more people join the Only ES fans, there will be more emojis, and perhaps the next one we can vote. Oh, that's a really bad idea. It's going to be emoji face, isn't it? How many water pipes are still lead? Yes, absolutely. I've seen so many pictures of people, opening up hatches and showing that their house is still lead pipes, and they've got, lead flashing on the roofs, and water continuously coming into contact with lead and running off into our various systems. So it's like, hang on a minute, it can't be that bad, right? This is why it very much stinks of a backdoor ban. That's what it's got written all over it out in Europe. And that's originally where this came from. Europe was this was during a time before COVID, and I think even before Brexit, where it was, the European Union imposed 10-round magazine restrictions, and then it was lead bans and this, that, and the other. It just seems very targeted against shooting, and again, I sort of say more for Basque for going, oh yeah, well, we need to get ahead on this, because no, you should have. They never give us an inch, do they? So why should we be cooperative? It's only they only end up taking more. A guy who's eaten lead shot game his whole life has dementia at 93. To be honest, if the only issue you've got, depends how severe, but at 93 you're going to have a few issues, I'd imagine. It's like, what I would like to know is, was the dementia caused by it, or was he at higher risk of dementia because of the lead game that he was eating? Brian Solomon, even Basque's own report is flawed. It argues against its own findings in places. Why am I not surprised? One Bit talks about air rifles don't need to have a ban as game meat hygiene rules cover it, so shouldn't the same apply to any lead shot / bullets? Exactly. That was my point earlier. If you can eat one, why can't you eat the other? Was a Basque member, not anymore. I cancelled as well. I'd imagine most Basque members don't know what a PDF is, let alone social media. Yeah, talking about stereotypes again. Like Basque, again, I got into it that time with the director of communications, and I said, like, look, why are you still sending out magazines? Right? Like, no, yes, people still, there's a few memberships that I have, and I will have a flick through. I get the CPSA magazine, like car magazines, because of like car memberships, but I'm not really interested. It gives me 5 or 10 minutes of, flick through, and occasionally, few times a year, there might be one thing and I go, oh, I need to sort of act on that, or that's really cool and I'm really glad that I read this magazine. But I would rather save money on the membership, or I'd rather have another perk, like Basque actually doing something to communicate a lead consultation rather than propagate pigeon spaghetti. So I had this conversation with him. I said, why do you still do the magazine? Like, why don't you email? Why don't you do this? Why don't you use social media? And he said, well, magazines are the only way that we can guarantee sending it to all of our members. And there is a requirement that as an organization that, you know, certainly when it comes to AGMs and voting, that they need to ensure that all members are aware of what's going in within the association, and that they are able to have their voice. And they said it was like, you know, email just isn't effective in that way. I was like, well, why? Well, it's, you know, 100%. He said 100% of our members get the magazine. And I said, whilst I was a BASC member at that point, I said, well, that's not right. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, 100% might get your magazine, although again, Royal Mail is never 100% efficient. So, you know, that's bollocks as well. And you're saying 100% of your membership read the magazine? He said, yeah, why wouldn't they? It comes through their door. And I literally turned. Like, I used to have a pile. It just got so big, I got rid of it. I just turned and picked up this stack of unopened Basque magazines. Like, I go, so there's one member that hasn't read a Basque magazine. And he said, well, you know, only 80% of our members have an email address. It's like, that's still a really good number. Like, just, so wait, 20% of our membership doesn't have email, so we're not going to bother using email. Like, well, like, either maybe in your next magazine take out a page saying, look, if you don't have email, you should probably get into the 21st century and sign up to one. And also, you still have 80% of your members. You could do quite a lot of effectiveness with that. You know, you could still get quite a lot. You know, 80% of 150,000 is 120,000 members. 120,000 people, that could do quite a lot, right? Politics always gets things heated up in mod chat. We all know who's watching the stream, plus Paul was on last week. It's fine, we're gonna be talking about American gun violence in a minute. If you want to talk about political, things are going to get a hell of a lot more spicy. Let's take that chili level to 3. When lead oxidizes, it becomes inert. Exactly. Ever done a video with Field Sports Britain? Not necessarily with. I've been on Field Sports Britain a few times. Not necessarily always for good reason. I think the last time was the Times. The whole thing with Sean O'Neill. But yeah, never. I would be up for. I actually think who would be a really good. Personally, I think a channel that may be able to convey better to me and demonstrate to me the benefits of moving away from lead and justification of why to do it would be TSG, TGS Outdoors. You know, Johnny, I've done a few videos with Johnny in the past. I get to see him regularly. So maybe next time I say regularly, like I'll see him a few times a year. So next time I bump into him, I might say, look, do you want to convince me? I will play the old stubborn fud and you can try and convince me, and maybe see how that goes. If Bass told me nighttime followed daytime, I'd stay up late to check. I'd say that the number of us telling them to stuff their membership might just be a factor in their new attitude. Probably a little too late. If I eat lead game, will I reach 93? Is that the secret? See, that's the thing. If they did a scientific, wouldn't that just be it? Wouldn't that be just absolutely incredible? They do a load of scientific research and they go, yeah, actually ingesting a small amount of lead actually does increase your life expectancy. That's how you get game in supermarkets. They're a private company, you say. They receive and accept public money, therefore public obligations to uphold freedom of speech can and should be forced upon them. They are a public square. Calm down now. So yes, something to keep an eye on, of course. I truly cannot stress the potential ramifications of all of this. And before we get on to the whole America, that's all based off of, we will be getting onto this in a little bit. It's all based on this article, and you just know, like, just take a second and just try to picture in your head what this article is going to include. Like, let's just quickly pick 3 things you know is going to be in this article. Right, 3 points that are going to be brought up in this article. I want everyone to do that in chat. 3 points that you think will be included in this. It's an article on gun violence and America. What are they going to refer to? What are they going to include? What are they going to reference? And it's, you know, no spoilers, but it's the same old. Before we get on to that, there's something that's really, it's always niggled me. And part of the reason that I run this channel and I do this is because I think there's a lot of issues and topics that aren't actually being really publicized or really discussed, or certainly the forum isn't opened to discuss them, to see what the community thinks, or to even make the community aware. Some of these massive issues about the firearm safety consultation, the lead consultation, even the offensive weapons bill, the amount of comments that I see going, this is the first that I've heard of it. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Like, the size of some of our associations or organizations, and it ends up coming down to effectively a hobbyist channel bringing people's attention to these big issues, you know, these industry and community changing issues. So, you know, I think it's no surprise that this is predominantly linked around the articles that we've seen attacking Recall Scotland. And as a quick refresher, because I have them open, and I have been informed that there is going to be another one this Sunday, and I knew it as soon as I saw the first one when they mentioned the club. I was like, just here we go again. This is going to be a coordinated attack. This isn't just going to be the one article. It's the forerunner to a potential political move. And you know, look at that with the Times. One of his big points was the miniature rifle exemption and mini rifle, and then they've changed the law on miniature rifle ranges and the miniature rifle range exemption. So, you know, that's why this scares me, and I think this should be taken a hell of a lot more seriously, and a lot more should be done around it, because following the patterns that I've seen before of you get this news buzz about something and then there's a political movement and then we see our gun laws changes. Well, this is very much about practical shooting and very much about pump action shotguns. And there's this continuous buzz at the moment about them, and no organization seems to be publicly addressing it. So the first article that was released, which didn't actually mention any of the club, was this: brother of Dunblane victim says horror of massacre gave him voice for gun control. Yeah, okay, so a horrific event, which you wouldn't wish on anybody, gave you maybe the confidence to talk about gun control, but it certainly doesn't give you the expertise or maybe knowledge to be able to do so. Then this was the first article: families of Dunblane victims call for a shooting club ban amid fear of trivialising guns. Then we had firearms loopholes allowing practical shooting clubs in Scotland uncovered. Shocker, or say, you know, spoiler, there's no loopholes used and they weren't really uncovered. Recoil is quite well publicised. It's like, we found them. Good. Our marketing is working. Dunblane Massacre PM wants loopholes closed for unlicensed Scots gun clubs. Again, heavily on the loopholes. Dunblane victim brother urges tighter UK gun regulation controls. It's starting to jump papers now, and there's going to be another one. And within these papers, it continuously talks about the political movement and talking with MPs and going to the Houses of Commons and Parliament and pushing this agenda. And my biggest issue is that this agenda is being pushed by them. It is the narrative is being controlled by the other side. And we have the tools and the ability and the means to be able to put out statements and to correct the inaccuracies and counter the inaccuracies or counter the deluded points of view that these people have, and to supply the facts and figures. And of course, you know, a lot of people go, well, we did that back in 96 and it didn't work. Okay, but doing nothing achieves nothing. Doing something that doesn't work has an infinitely greater chance of working than doing nothing, right? And this whole, oh, we're going to make targets of ourselves. You're already a target, right? You're like, oh, they're going to attack us. Five articles so far. I think they're already attacking. You know, it's like, at what point the media's just there smashing the gun owners in the face, and they're going, oh, I don't want to tell him to stop. He might start hurting me. Like, what are you waiting for? You're gonna wait until they actually change the law and go, oh, bloody hell, we should probably do something. Little bit. It's like Basque. we'll wait until things are really that bad. Then we might, you know, right at the last minute when it's too late, we might step in. And this isn't just to do with recoil or practical shooting. This is a wider issue. Our organisations don't like huge publicity. It's all very behind closed doors and very secretive and this, that and the other. And it's sort of like, well, no wonder that the sport is facing decline. Yes, we have all the issues with firearms licensing, but if we don't show people what this sport is, if we don't put our heads above the parapet, we're just going to sink lower and lower and lower down into oblivion, and no one's going to know anything about the sport anyway. You know, oh yeah, but it opens us up for attack. Okay, so we don't get attacked, but over the next 20 years, the sport diminishes into nothing. Right? So when you have a paper that is quite clearly doing a very, not only a series of articles, but they are ramping it up each time. The accusations and the twisting of the facts are getting worse and worse each time. What possible damage could be done in putting out a factual statement, rubbing it in their face, right? I completely understand why, you know, you never necessarily want to tangle with a journalist on their terms, right? You need to do it on your terms, and that can be done through emails, or that can be done by tricking them down into your own place, shoving a load of cameras in them and controlling the narrative that way. There are ways to interact with these people and use their tactics against them, and I think as a wider community we should be doing that more. Like, if these people want to give us free publicity, well, they're going to give us publicity anyway. And, you know, I don't necessarily like to say here that we should be seeking all publicity. All publicity is good publicity. It doesn't mean you should be seeking it all and seeking the negative. But if there is negative being created through no fault of your own, if someone has picked up on this and they are going to create negative media around you, I think at the very least have to grab that and try your hardest to spin it into positive. But if you can't, at least try and use that negative publicity for some good in the sport. And we've seen this before when the sport gets a spotlight shone on it. Yes, everyone gets uneasy. Yes, there's attacks left, right and centre. But ultimately, we end up increasing our numbers because a lot of people don't realise you can do what we do in the UK. And then when it's put on national newspapers, people go, huh, that doesn't look too bad. That looks pretty fun, actually. I might go and try it. And, you know, we have to use it. And I think engaging, you know, from little things personally and individually, we can be sharing more on our social medias. We can be less concerned about what your place of work is going to think. Oh, you know, don't mess with the income. I'm sorry. Don't be somebody else's bitch, right? Don't, there are other jobs out there. If you're working for somewhere, look, this is my personal, well, and I've acted on this, right? I'm preaching what I've done. If your work is anti-guns and there are issues caused at your work because of the hobby, the lawful and safe hobby that you choose to take part in, why would you want to further that company? Why would you want to work side by side with those individuals? You know, it's not about necessarily a difference of opinion. You can work with people that have a differing opinion of you, but if it's going to cause issues for you, right, that's you can disagree with somebody, but if you're going to cause issues if you're going to cause them issues just because they enjoy a different sport, just because they have different views, then that's not right. And I don't understand why anybody would want to continue working at a place of work, working somewhere where they feel that they can't be themselves. That's very apt at the moment in the world that we live in. I'm an amosexual. I've finally come out. It's like one of those. It really does. There's definitely something to play on with that, right? I identify as amosexual. Like it is discrimination. It's a discrimination of the community that you are part of, the sport that you want to take part in, and this. I can't. I left my job. There was other reasons. No, I think the main root cause of it was all the friction with the shooting and running the channel and this, that, and the other. And I thought, nah, I was actually sort of given an informal ultimatum, one or the other. And I don't think they were expecting the choice I made. And it's worked out pretty well so far. So, it's one of those, like, I think it's down to us individuals to put in complaints, right? We have an independent complaints press commission or whatever it's called, the IPSO, what acronym? All these really weird acronyms. Independent Press Standards Organization. You can go on there. Anybody. You can go on there. You can go find one of these articles on the Daily Record, copy the text. You go through yourself, like anybody that knows half a thing about shooting can go in and find inaccuracies within there. Go on to here. You can complain to the newspaper. Like, why, at the very least, why don't our organisations suggest members doing this? Let the members go in and make the complaint and challenge them. The Daily Record is also on Facebook. You can go and comment on their articles. You can go and find the journalists. So she actually changed her profile picture back. Again, that just speaks volume. You want to, if you want to be proud of your work, you don't start changing your profile picture. No, that's a different Jennifer Hyland. It's going to be here. Sunday Mail. Is it that one? Anyway, you can find her on Twitter. You can find the Sunday Mail and Daily Record on Facebook. You can write reviews in the newspaper. You can comment on their articles. You can comment on the articles themselves on their website. There's lots that we can do as individuals to dispel it and to get involved and counter things. Like, I think always be constructive about it. Always be polite and be factual. Don't be rude and troll-like. Something that I have been guilty of myself of doing in the past, but we all mature and learn. But yeah, I think as a community overall, we are, to our detriment, too silent. We won't vocally fight our corner. We won't counter these inaccuracies, and we continue to let people, dictate the narrative of our sport. Didn't Norway ban lead in the 90s and then unban it as it was utterly pointless? Yes, there is a big case of that. I think it was Norway, or certainly one of the Scandinavian countries, where they ended up, it wasn't that it was just pointless. They had a number of issues. Actually, thank you for reminding me about that. That's what I should probably go and look at. Yes, and they reverted. They went back on it. But then obviously they're now being, no, is Norway in the EU? I think because of the EU ban, that it's like, well, we've changed it back, but now we might have to change it back again. But yeah, there are actually there's examples of countries that have switched away from lead and then had to switch back. So yes, you know, it's funny that that's not brought up or mentioned. Arian, yes. Okay, all right. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at what you wrote, but not about what you wrote, if that makes sense. It's just the table flip. Is Basque still relative to the support of our sport? It depends on what you mean by our sport. If you mean game shooting, they're very relative. If you mean target shooting, less relative. And if you mean practical shooting, even less relative. I mean, again, that, you know, this seems just to be a Bass Attack live stream. I need to have one every now and then just to, you know, keep it going. But like, never mind the practical focused organizations and associations. Why not Basque? Why not the NRA? Why not other organizations stepping in that like to say that they are the overarching, you know, largest shooting community representative or national governing body for all of target sports and this, that, and the other? Why are they allowing this to get through? That's what I mean. Is like any area of shooting that gets attacked, BASC, Countryside Alliance, the NRA, even NSRA, they should be getting involved. They should be trying to protect every aspect. Anti-gun Americans talking about gun violence. That sounds like a fun game of bingo. It's more telling to check what they don't mention than what they do. It's Scott Porridge and they get you. It's Scott's Porridge that gets you to 93 years old. The ball they use on their packaging is a lead ball. Porridge with a sprinkling of lead. If you're one of the silly sock and tweed jacket brigade, yes, no worries, Chris. Thanks for tuning in as always. If I shoot one of my pigs, then I cannot sell the meat. If the issue is with large game shoots wanting to sell their shot game to supermarkets, then that's where the change needs to happen, surely. Well, again, it's all around trying to keep game shooting, isn't it? Like, that's really all this is about, is keeping game shooting going, right? And there's so many game shoots that have been found to dump birds, and you know, it's the birds literally end up going to waste, so they're trying to pick up the market for game meat so that they can justify it. And in terms of lead not getting out there, like, you don't need to ban lead shot. You just need to ban game shooting. Like, if nobody goes out there shooting at the birds, then no birds are going to end up with lead in them, are they? I mean, that's an option that hasn't been explored. I do just want to clarify, I'm not calling for the banning of game shooting. It does a tremendous amount of good to the countryside and general country ecosystem. But it is a bit like, you know, Basque going, oh shit. HSC are going, yes. Okay, you can keep your lead ammunition, but you can't shoot it at birds. The only thing I believe in newspapers is the date. They get dates wrong too as well. Yes, they managed to get my date of birth wrong, bastards. They did make me sound younger though, so I can't complain really. We've had to organise multiple inductions because of these. So if you go onto the article, you can realise who Christopher Toner is, but he is one of the recoil committees and one of the original founders, and was actually featured in this. He personally attacked in these articles, but so, you know, case in point, right? A load of these articles couldn't be any more negative about the sport, the club, all the people running it, and yet now the club is inundated with new membership requests, right? Like, you've got to keep the ball, in some ways you've got to keep the ball running, but you have to keep it running in the right way, because at the moment, yes, we're getting a load of people are getting a load of members. That's very short term, really, really good, but longer term, they're keeping the ball rolling in the direction of Parliament and new laws. Like, that's what we need to engage with them and prevent and to stop. And if we let them get to Parliament to begin with, then we're already on the back foot. So we need to stop them from getting there before we have this political fight in the first place. To be honest, I let my new employer know I'm a shooter in my interview. They still hired me, and we're now planning a team building clay shoot. You can do that too, folks. Absolutely. I understand it. Like, if everyone, certainly at the moment, you want to ensure that you can pay the bills. You want to ensure that, you don't want to be taking gambles necessarily with your own employment. But who says it's necessarily going to be bad, right? I think a lot of people, you believe the media in that you are going to instantly be vilified. A lot of people that I meet don't care. And if they are initially like, speak to them, engage with them. Because you're not going to change their minds anyway. You're not going to change their mind by not, right? And I think it's really an own goal that we shoot ourselves in the foot. We put up the barrier before they do, right? And that's where people think we're doing stuff that's dodgy. That's why people think that shooting, if they do think it's shooting, it's why they think, if they do think shooting is bad, that's why they think shooting is bad. It's because if every time they meet somebody that owns firearms and goes out there and shoots, and they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to engage, well, what does that say? Well, either you're hiding something, or you're a complete weirdo that doesn't want to socially interact. Yeah, that's maybe a little too close to home. A survey in the Netherlands testing lead levels in rural folk who eat a lot of shot game against urban people who rarely ate shot game showed urban people had far higher lead levels. YouTube is saying that now would be a really good time to insert an ad, but I'm not going to do that to you. Instead, I'm going to ask you to like. There you go. Like the fact, like YouTube does this all the time. I don't think I've, in the live studio now, literally on the 5-minute mark after the countdown, it goes, right now would be a really good time to put an ad in. And I'm going, YouTube, I'm literally about to actually start the stream. I don't think now is a good time to put an ad in. Maybe it is because your stream hasn't started. Maybe YouTube does know what it's doing. But anyway, I don't like the idea. Maybe if I needed to go and take a waz, I'd put an ad on quickly. But no. Anyway, I'm not running the ad. Hit that like button. Otherwise, I will. If we don't get 60 likes, I'm going to hit an ad button. Haha! I can blackmail you. I'll give you a minute. But 60 likes, otherwise we'll get an ad. Suddenly everyone goes, well, we're just going to leave. My company knows I'm a shooter. In fact, the boss of the company was one of my references. That's pretty good. My boss is an RFD, and I'm also able to shoot on his land. Perfection. Is the sort of person you want to get to know and work for. Chris, her Twitter is now private. Well, I think, again, that's pretty telling overall. What better way than to ban the most suitable material for ammo? Lead shot game that is frozen then thawed out is fine. Still shot game frozen then thawed shows signs of rust and is not suitable to eat. That's what's going to happen. The supermarkets are finally going to buy game in because it hasn't got lead in it. And then there's going to be this huge, it's probably going to be on the scale of bloody the horse lasagna in Iceland, right? Find out that people are just literally eating rust. Since then, I've never told anyone that can affect my kids that I shoot. Oh, I told a parent in the schoolyard that I shot. They seemed cool. Later, my boys came home upset. Some kid's mother told him not to play with them because their dad was a dangerous bad man. You should have shown no real danger. in the bedroom. When Callum covers both sides, I sometimes wonder if the shadow antis are taking notes. Yeah, I do have that fear that I end up, again, who better than to tear the sport apart than someone from inside. But yeah, sort of giving a few, you could attack us here. Here's a weak spot. What, Black Guinea Pig, finally, welcome. Took you long enough. What did I miss? Been a good week, completing my house tomorrow, so new safe and new guns inbound. Also shot a Bren G36C, G3K and an AK-47 with dong grip yesterday. Well, thanks for making us all feel completely shit. That's just great. I hope that was legal. I'm pretty sure BASC binned their insurance a couple of years ago. Heppy, I would hope that you're more than pretty sure that they did that, seeing as that's one of the main BASC rants that I've ever done and continue to do. Some photos to make you jealous on Discord. Gets worse, doesn't it? 100 likes and we swap Callum for Connors. That would be a feat. I'm going to maybe assume that we can't share these. But yes, you bastard. Anyway, moving on to the spicy. So did anybody want to take a guess of the three main, maybe 3 points that are included in this article on American gun violence? Again, as a quick look, The Independent, why the hell can't America end this deadly gun violence? And I think this is actually this has actually some synergies to these articles about Recall Scotland. No, not Jennifer. No, we'll be talking about that in a minute. There are 400 million firearms in the US and they're being used to kill people at a rate not seen in any other nation in the world, despite other countries having higher firearms ownership rates than the US. I think that's a massive clue to begin with. So basically, the long and the short of it, it goes over a number of quite high-profile mass shootings, and lots of victims, and it's not just the victims that are killed, but it's also the family that has to deal with it, and that mass shootings are so common now, and more about mass shootings, and feeling helplessness. And again, it's incredibly tragic, and this, that, and the other. Don't get me wrong, but the reason I get so upset about this is actually the irony of this. It comes down to the irony of this article. So in 2020, the most recent year for which figures are available, there were 19,384 gun murders, the most since at least 1968. Well, you got to say, well, there were less guns in 1968. Right? Again, so it's just the irony here is that there's clues throughout this own article of what the main issue is. In addition, another 24,000 people killed themselves with firearms, of course, so they now say that the total amount is 44,000 who lost their lives to gun violence. Literally over 50% is suicide. Now, okay, there's an argument about it can be argued that it's easier to do with a firearm and people therefore do it where they otherwise wouldn't have. But throwing yourself in front of a train or off of a bridge is a pretty easy thing to do as well. So it's again, what are the statistics about if those didn't have if those 24,000 people didn't have a firearm, would they have still committed it? I just cannot see how you can include suicide in gun violence figures. It's somebody choosing to take their own lives, as horrific as that may be, does not. It really isn't the firearm doing that, right? Ultimately, it's it's not the firearm doing the other 20,000. Each of the deaths is an individual tragedy, and the circumstance is unique, yet in the vast majority of these murders, there is one thing that links them. If American had common sense gun regulation, they would have not occurred. Who knows precisely what led the Texas gunman to open fire with a handgun and rifle? It emerged that he had attacked his grandmother the night before. We also later learned that several hundred police officers waited outside the classroom before trying to confront the gunman. This, that, and the other. An alarm was raised by the shooter's high school when he said that his graduation ambitions included murder/suicide. Right? The United States is not the only place with racist or angry or deluded or otherwise motivated people looking for a fight or to settle a score, real or imagined, but it is the only place where mass shootings are a weekly or daily occurrence. It's also not the only place in the world that has, fairly easy access to firearms and large firearms ownership figures. It is the only place where repeated efforts to try and... So, of course, we've had the number one big one. They've talked about school shootings. Now the next one's coming. It is the only place where repeated efforts to try regulate the sale of guns have been systematically blocked. Other countries, including Australia and the UK, have suffered such incidents, but those most notably in the 1996 primary school shooting in Dunblane. Ding, 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 ding. We have a second one. Can't talk about gun legislation and control and mass shootings without bringing up Dunblane. Led to decisive and united action. Not really. And even when it then goes on, all of the presidents, they try to do stuff, but the National Rifle Association, the gun lobbies, they always push back, and they're always cut off at the knees. And then it goes on to, obviously, you've got all the glory hunters. I was at a school that had a mass shooting, therefore I'm a firearms expert. Now, obviously, Joe Biden weighing in and wanting more legislation, but it always gets backed by, backed down by the gun lobbyist. Then the best of us, the activists who somehow find it in them to get up day after day, can make use of that intensity to press their cause in hope, however tested, that things will one day change. Now, throughout all of this, right, this is the issue. Why the hell can't America end this deadly gun violence? Because you continuously focus on the wrong thing. You continuously focus on the gun. You continuously you continuously believe that common sense gun laws, whatever they are, and banning guns and restricting certain types of guns and having magazine restrictions and banning certain accessories and features of a gun, that is suddenly going to reduce the amount of mass shootings. That is suddenly going to reduce the amount of people died by firearms. Firstly, the biggest issue is that handguns account for the largest majority of firearms deaths in America, and there is a disproportionate focus on AR-15s. Yes, within mass shootings and school shootings, an AR-15 is more oftenly used, but yet people always use the argument of planes, right? Flying is the safest form of travel, but when it goes wrong, a lot more people die. But you still are statistically more likely to have an accident driving to the airport than you are likely to have an accident on a plane. So that just shows the deluded nature of these activists, the deluded nature of the gun control lobbyists, because they are continuously focusing on the wrong issue. And that's why this issue of gun violence, and again, why does it matter that it's gun violence? The issue of violence, it doesn't matter if it's done with fists, baseball bats, knives, or guns. The issue that there is violence there. You go and ban guns tomorrow in America, there will still be huge, if not similar levels of general violence, because it's about, shock horror, the person. It's about the amount of inequality within a nation, within communities. It's about the resources around mental health in detection and treatment. You know, like one of these shooters, it popped up on my feed today, and it was just like oh, like how, why am I not surprised? Like the father of one of these, I think it was the Orlando shooter, it transpires that his father is an ex-MMA turned porn star who came out and said the biggest thing that I was worried about when I found out that he shot up a gay bar was that he was gay himself. And you suddenly start to think, like, and everyone's saying that the gun's the problem here, right? I think maybe having a father, you know, and I'm not necessarily wanting to stereotype all mixed martial artists and all porn stars, but there's a stereotype there for a reason. And like that's the issue, is maybe the kid didn't particularly have the best father figure, like, and that seems to be a concurring theme throughout you know, mass shooters and these people that go out and commit these horrific acts. They all have very fractured family. They tend to have fractured family values and family backgrounds. They are always mentally unwell. Yes, of course, like sort of definition of going out there and killing dozens of people sort of makes you know, mentally unwell. But there were massive signs previously that they were mentally unwell. And it's like, well, maybe, you know, if you took the money, instead of, let's just, you know, there's, as they say, 400 million guns in the USA, right? You are never going to have, not even the Sultan of Brunei has enough money to tackle that problem, right? And even if you were to find out magically what the sum would be that it would take to ban all of those guns, to effectively remove that 400 million firearms from people in the US without going to all-out war, you have to ask the question that even if you spent a proportion of that on mental health facilities, on mental health, you know, detection within schools, whether that would have a much bigger effect, right? It's just like here, you know, and recoil, not necessarily recoil, but you know, the people going after recoil. They're saying that the issue here is practical shooting. The issue here is that people have these guns. Right, that's what caused Dunblane, that's what caused Hungerford, that's what caused Plymouth, you know, because he had a pump action shotgun. No, the issue, it could have been a side by side, a single shot, a semi-auto, a pump action, a box fed, whatever. The issue was that somebody that was clearly mentally unwell was free to do what he wanted, be that with a gun, be that with a car, be that with a knife. Like, you know, in the, I think it was 12 minutes it took the police to get there. Even if he had just gone out there with a machete or a knife, the same amount of people could have, quite, if not more, could have been killed. So it's not about the gun, and that is why this violence problem cannot be solved. You know, it can't be solved here, it can't be solved in America, is because continuously we are looking at the inanimate objects that people are using rather than looking at the people. You know, the offensive weapons bill and banning zombie knives, has that stopped any stabbing? Has that stopped the plethora of articles of people in possession of these so-called zombie knives being found on London streets, about, you know, people being, you know, like children being knifed to death on the street as they play, right? Has the offensive weapons bill done anything to do that? No, because restricting the object has been proven time and time not to work. Anyway, that's probably a little bit more attention than I would like to have given to that article, but it angers me. Really does. Of course, everyone wants to see the prevention of the loss of life, and it is infuriating that they continue beating this drum. That just doesn't work. If we get too vocal, you risk losing your FAC. If we get too vocal, you risk losing your SGC/FAC. Don't be Callum. You just need to get more. You need to be vocal in the right way. I think it's taken me a while to learn. Welcome, Welsh Adventures and more. Thanks for joining the channel. No, I wouldn't use back onto Brian. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't use my issues with firearms licensing as justification or reason as why people shouldn't be vocal. You just have to be vocal in the right way and keep it onto shooting sports. Don't stray into other areas that we are not allowed firearms for, or that sort of thing. Just leave it there. Back away. Step away from the conversation. Have you heard that Canada is aiming to ban all semi-autos? No, I have heard though. Did have a subscriber send a load of useful information that I'm trying to get through, and we'll do a video on. That Ireland is banning. So in Ireland, you can currently own centerfire semi-auto rifles, and that they're looking to remove those. So this is like an international thing at the moment. You know, Canada, Ireland, America continuously is trying to restrict or ban more guns. It's a lot more. It's a lot more knife crime in the south of Wales than guns. And seeing Wales does have quite a high firearms ownership. But yeah, moving on from the politics, I have to say it's been a busy old few days. For those of you that don't already know, I'm sure most of you are already watching, of course you know that I'm heavily involved with Magload, being a director and co-owner, and we don't do sales and we don't do discounts, but when we do them once a year, and we do them fucking well. So I'm sure you have already seen this was it was very touch and go, because it's been reasonably early starts and long days and late finishes and silly o'clock in the morning sorting things out in the evening. It was very like I could have done with the extra sleep and not done the live stream, but I'm committed to you guys. I'm going to keep this going. I want to keep it weekly, because it's far too easy to go, oh, I won't do it this week, and then that becomes a pattern. So Magload's Black Friday is now currently live. All of the deals are live. So there's no, it's not going to get better. Usually we've been able to split it. There's a few things I wanted to cover, because I know a lot of you guys, you do, and I'm very, very grateful for this. You do your Magload customers already, or you're certainly aspirational Magload customers. If you're just getting into shooting and you want to get into practical, a lot of you guys, you say it will be a matter of time until I have a Nexus, and we greatly appreciate that. What we've done previously in the past is we've split it between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. We haven't done that this year. We have gone full hog from the start. So we are doing our famous quad loader bundles. So Nexus Pro, Nexus Element, and it's buy one get one free on a 28 and 32. If you buy a 28 or a 32, you get a free 8 or 12. You also can get big discounts on other loaders when buying other so if you buy a 20 or a 24, you can get discounts on other size loaders. So yeah, you can pick your main loader, anything from a 20 up to a 32, and then you will get a discount, or you will either get a free 8, a free 12, or you will get a discount on an 8, 12 or 14, and you can add a belt straight there. Now there is something I'm sure you guys have noticed if you've been on the page. Our website is absolutely chugging at the moment. Great, Black Friday, the one day, the one weekend you do not want your website to chug or be slow in any way, shape or form, but it's just due to the sheer traffic, which it's a very, very nice problem to have. Well, I'm not necessarily moaning about that, but we have our web. We have somebody that is paid to maintain the website, and fix these issues, and she has been going ham the entire day. So again, you can do the same for Element, same sizes, same deals just across. I'll explain a little bit more about Element and Pro in a sec. Yeah, so she's been working on it all day, trying to get the website sped up. It does seem to have waves, so if you are on there and you are trying to buy stuff, you just have to be patient with it. Especially on the loader bundle pages, that's where it seems to really slow up, I think, because so many people are on it. When you go to add it to basket, it can take a little time to actually add it to basket, but it is still working. So don't sit there constantly refreshing it. Just click it, acknowledge, see that you've clicked it, and just wait a little bit longer than usual. But along with the sort of famous Black Friday bundles that we do, we have up to 50% off site-wide. It's not every single product on the site that's discounted, but it's most. Oh, also yes, the both the Pro 8, the Pro and Element 8s and 12s have, I think it's a 20 or 25% discount just on their own if you just want to buy them. But there's a lot of stuff that is handguards, so much stuff that is discounted. Pretty much, everything you're going to need for any sort of practical or dynamic shooting. So if there's anything that you've been eyeing up, anything you want. Now, I know the magazines are in there. They are not on sale. I was going to do this whole thing with Daniel going, oh yeah, if you wanted to buy more magazines, they're half price on pre-order for this weekend. We know that if we even thought about discounting the magazines under pre-order, we might as well just shut up shop and move country. So I don't know actually why they're in the in the sale, but yeah, so much stuff that's on offer. Pretty much every area of the website has some sort of discount or deal, so you can pick yourself up if you've been looking at anything on Magload, or you want some go faster bits for your guns. Like now is or you want some face stickers. Again, I don't know why they're in the sale. Need to maybe have a look at that. But yeah, lots. As you can see, there is lots and lots of stuff that is available, and you get yourself a good deal. And as I said, we don't mess about. We do one deal a year, and that is it. It's Black Friday. And then you've got to wait until next Black Friday. So if there was anything you are looking at, then you can go and hit up the website. That's magload.co.uk. Pretty much anything practical shooting related in the UK, we will have something. Be that mini rifle, practical shotgun, LBP, even long barreled revolvers, anything, and even stuff for full bore shooting, 223, 9mm. There'll be something on there for you guys, but we're pretty blown away by the response so far, and the website is taking an absolute hammering. So we are trying to get that sped up as quickly as possible. Again, they've been working all day to try and speed it up. And I do need to give, if they are still here, they were here earlier, do need to give a huge thank you to Arian at Outdoor Technica. So I've definitely shown Outdoor Technica on the channel before, but I will bring that up because if you can do me a favor, go and subscribe to Outdoor Technica and go and check out their video. You should be already, because Arian does incredible content, super high quality, and there's a lot of stuff from the US trip. So there's a lot of stuff that you're going to see from the US trip on there that I haven't yet covered, or I don't even have footage of. So this is the channel, Outdoor Technica. Go and hit that subscribe button, go and have a look at their videos, and there's loads of different stuff. Connors is on there, I'm on there occasionally, loads of different and interesting stuff. So and it's all it's mostly UK shooting. There we am. With literally my Magload shirt and cap on. So yeah, go and give them a like, follow, subscribe, because Arian has been helping massively with the preparations for Black Friday. It's just, again, it's a nice problem for me in the sense that there's so much to do on a day-to-day basis that like I need more and more help with it, and Aaron really did step up for me and really did sort of lay, you know, he took a lot of pressure off. So a lot of the media that's going out is being done by Outdoor Technica. So we're very happy and very pleased to be sort of partnering with them and Aaron helping us, because he does produce some really stunning stuff. So yeah, go and find Outdoor Technica and go and give them a subscribe. I would be really appreciative of it, and I'm sure Aaron would as well. Are the mags making an appearance during the open day? Yes, there will be some mags there. Please don't ask if you'll be able to collect them. So mag update. We are literally just waiting for the production parts to come from the injection molders. They are running, so they're running sort of a test production batch, which they've got checks that they can do, and they're actually going to send us. Usually they only send us maybe no more than half a dozen. They're actually going to run off a considerable amount. Obviously we have to do final production checks, but because they're running a considerable amount, because the design has been finalized, if that batch is good to go, then it's good to go. We start production, or we start assembly. So we've said on the website the most up to date is by the end of November. We might be cutting that one fine, but there is good promising noises coming from the injection molders. No, we are not going to have it for the weekend. And that's another thing. Thank you for reminding me. We do have the Magload open day this Saturday. And yes, all of the Black Friday deals will be available in person. So if you want to get the kit in your hand, in your hands and have a play before you buy, you know, you're weighing up between Element and Pro, you can come and do that in person. So all of the deals that are online will be available in person at the open day. If for those of you that don't know about the open day, it's going to be held at the Magload factory. We're based down in Havant on the south coast. It's going to be well worth a trip for a number of different reasons. Even if you have to travel from north of the wall, please do come down. Everyone is more than welcome. There's no obligation. You don't have to buy anything. There's no entry fee. You don't have to sign up anywhere. You can literally turn up. The doors will be open from 10 a.m. in the morning. So this is this Saturday. The postcode is PO91JW. So or you just put Magload in Google and you will be led to us. There's going to be a lot going on. So more than last time, if you came down to the last one, we're going to have the same Action Air range, which is going to be run by XPSC, which is Paul Wyborn's club, and we're going to have the VR practical shooting app. So if you've never tried a VR headset, you can. Even if you want to stand there and play Beat Saber, you're more than welcome, but there is a practical VR app that you can try out. We've got a number of headsets for people to share. You can even have like Beat Saber battles if you really wanted. So we're going to have that. We've also got the Mantis Blackbeard X auto trigger resetting device training thing. If you want to get hands on with that, you want to try that, we're going to have that set up ready to go. So lots more to get hands on and try. Yes, maybe a little bit more digital and virtual. We'd love to have some live firing, but I don't think the neighbors will appreciate it. So we're gonna have that. We've got more people, more dealers this time. We've got Cotswold Classic Arms, who were there last time, but Otto at Cotswold does he builds all the battle arms, he builds the Aero Precisions, he's got the straight pull SA80, which I'm sure he hopefully will bring down. He's very heavily involved in the K22 LBP. He's involved in the Antreg Zenith, Antreg Zenith, which is the CZ LBP that he will be bringing out. The Korth revolvers, he may May even have a demo one for people to have a look. I'm hoping to see that there. We've also got Calibre Innovations coming. A lot of you will know about that. They bring in a plethora of interesting goodies from the likes of the Keltex. They brought the Keltex in. They've brought Glock LBPs in. Straight pull 9mm. I think he said that they're going to have a 458 SOCOM chambered straight pull and even a 50 Beowulf straight pull. I think that's right. And some other interesting stuff. So certainly between Calibre Innovations and Cotswold Classic Arms, there's going to be a number of guns to draw at. We've got iWholesales coming, who specialise within Action Air and Airsoft. So there will be a number of Action Air and Airsoft goodies that you'll be able to pick up on the day if you're fancy getting into Action Air. If you want to pick up some BB guns to train in your back garden with, you'll be able to do that. We were going to have Marmaduke Creations, who make custom knives. Unfortunately, he won't be able to make it anymore. But if you want to see any of Marmaduke's incredible knives, I will make sure I take mine into work. Paul now has his own because it was his 21st birthday, and it was our little gift from Magload to him. Connors has ones as well, so you at least still be able to see some. And I think we have a couple of other demo knives there from Marmaduke. We've got Zero West watches coming, so they are a UK based watch designer and manufacturer just down the road from us in Emsworth, and the watches are absolutely incredible. They're all inspired around planes and automotive, but usually historical. So they have a watch that has literally a bit of genuine dam buster Lancaster in. It's got this disc which is genuinely from the planes, a particular dam buster that went out there, that flew these missions, unfortunately got shot down. And it was recovered, and there's this whole story of how they managed to get this bit of material to then put it into their watches. They did have another watch that had a bit of genuine Spitfire in it. They've got another watch which I think has a piece of piston from a car that Sterling Moss raced in. All like fascinating creations. And again, there's a real big synergy between sort of aerospace, motor racing, guns, watches. All of those things just seem to always come together really nicely. So we thought that would be something a little bit different. I don't think I'm necessarily forgetting anyone else. But yeah, there's going to be plenty to look at. There's going to be plenty to get involved in. And even if you just want to sit there, grab a beer and have a burger, it's all on us. All drinks and food will be provided. You won't have to pay a penny. And of course, the whole team will be there. Paul will be there. Myself, Connors will be there. And we've got a number of other Team Magload people coming down for the day. So you'll be able to speak to them why they're involved with us. They're partnered, not necessarily because they're paid. Some of them aren't paid. They just like using our gear, and they want to be an ambassador. They want to be a sponsored shooter. So yes, you'll be able to talk to people that use our gear in competition and use it at the highest level. And yes, there will be, back to your original question, Happy, whilst you won't be able to pick up any magazines, we will have the magazines there on display so you can get hands-on with them and test them out actually in a gun, not firing. I mean, like just dry fire maybe. Did I see yes unless your name's Daniel? Are you sure it's not working? Are you sure it's not a working party to build the Black Friday loaders? I can neither confirm nor deny you will get an additional discount if you build your own loader. Will the Magload Beretta extended charging handle fit the A400 or just some? Honestly, I know this off the top of my head, and I'm not currently going to our website. Let me just check. Beretta enlarge bolt charging handle. I think it says all of the ones that it is compatible with. Beretta A330, A400 Explorer. Oh, so you're saying if it's just the normal A400, not necessarily the Explorer. Jing handle. I'm pretty confident it fits them all. So there's an A400 Excel. Beretta A400 cocking handle. Here we go. Yes, I think it does. Oh no, that's the... So this is a genuine Beretta. So A400 Explorer, left-handed bolt handle. OEM part made. I swear I just saw one that said it fits them all. Beretta oversized. Explorer A400. Yes. Yeah, it's the A400 Action, just because they decide to keep it. Oh, SKU. Oh, there are different SKUs. Okay. It depends which A400 you have. Because they've got different... Oh no, silver... Oh no, it's the same thing, it's just different colour. Okay, so the page that I'm looking at is another extended one, and the only different... It's the same. If it fits one A400, it will fit all A400. So maybe I should drop the Explorer bit. Absolutely worst case, we always say this, you know, if it doesn't fit, you know, and that will be on us, so you can return it, you can refund it. But from what I can quickly see, if it fits one A400, it will fit them all. Berettas are very much, well, you know, Beretta and Benelli, basically the same company. They all share bits. It's very rare that something like a charging handle is different. I mean, like, you know, it says Beretta A350, 400, Extreme Plus, 1301, Extrema 1, Extrema 2, TX4. Like, just one part fits all of those different guns. So, yes, I'm going to say that it will fit. Will your future range be rated for full bore? 100%. It would be rated. I would like really, if you build a range and you can't shoot a 50 cal in it, what's the point? And on that note, don't forget, if you want any Magload goodies, head over to magload.co.uk and you can pick up some Black Friday bargains. Please do. I'll put the link for the open day if you need any more. If you need any more details, then please follow this link. Let me just double check that it's still working, and Facebook's just not going to Facebook. So here we go, and just as a little bit more incentive, Connors is watching. So you can go and find all the details. Our address is on there, the timing's on there, a little bit more detail about the day is on there. But that's this Saturday, not next Saturday, this Saturday, the 26th. Come down, it will be awesome. Everybody is welcome. If you even if you're not interested in Magload and you just want to come and say hi, or you just, you know, you're just a subscriber and fan of the channel and you want to come down, we can treat it as a unofficial English shooting meet and greet. I will be there all day from early morning to late in the evening, probably doing a bit of everything, but it will be great to meet as many of you guys as possible. Also, don't forget, guys, like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does make a huge difference to the channel. Want me to send you the range design specs you will need? I appreciate it. I already have them. I'm very clued up on all that sort of stuff, because we may or may not be in discussions with the Northern Shooting Show of holding a practical pay and play or practical tri-bay at the Northern Shooting Show next year. So watch this space. A few more details to come. But yeah, very clued up on that. And but appreciate it anyway. I'm sure if I get more progressed down the range building, I will give you a message. But yeah, like and subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed the stream this evening. Again, like and subscribe if you have. Thanks for your support. There's going to be, actually talking about ranges, there's going to be a video out about the Phoenix range up in Barnsley very soon. That's very progressed in its editing, and I'm hoping to get that out on Sunday. But yes, make sure you go and explore magload.co.uk for the Black Friday specials, and I hope to see as many of you on Saturday as possible. And for everybody else, as always, I hope to see you soon.